What evidence did Min Hee-jin release against HYBE? In the high-stakes world of K-pop, where corporate empires clash like rival stages under glaring spotlights, one whisper from a courtroom can ignite a firestorm that engulfs reputations and reveals the raw underbelly of power plays. Imagine a creative visionary accused not just of betrayal, but of wielding her influence like a political weapon, forcing votes in shadows where ballots should fly free. This is the electrifying saga unfolding between HYBE, the behemoth behind global sensations like BTS, and their enduring legacy of breaking barriers, and Min Hee-jin, the trailblazing former CEO of ADOR, whose artistic fingerprints helped birth NewJeans, the group that redefined Y2K aesthetics with their ethereal debut tracks like Attention and HYBE, captivating millions with a fresh, unfiltered charm that felt like a breath of millennial nostalgia amid the industry's relentless churn. Yet, as the dust settles from their latest courtroom skirmish on November 26, 2025, at the Seoul Central District Court, what emerges isn't merely a spat over shares or strategies, but a deeply personal indictment. HYBE's bold claim that Min politically coerced her employees, pressuring them to shun the Democratic Party of Korea in a move that strikes at the heart of democratic freedoms in the workplace. It's an accusation that hangs heavy, evoking a chill down the spine, as if the vibrant chaos of K-pop production meetings could double as clandestine polling stations, where creative briefs give way to veiled threats on civic duty. One can't help but feel a pang of unease here, a reminder of how fragile personal expression can be when tangled in the machinery of megacorporations, where loyalty to a vision might blur into something far more sinister, leaving observers to wonder if this is the spark that could unravel the delicate threads holding an entire industry together. Diving deeper into the fray, HYBE's legal salvo paints a picture of Min as a figure whose passion for her craft allegedly spilled over into authoritarian overreach, specifically alleging she bullied ADOR staff into withholding their votes from the Democratic Party during pivotal elections. This wasn't some offhand remark tossed into a heated debate over album artwork or choreography tweaks. HYBE asserted it was systematic, a deliberate exertion of her CEO clout to shape not just musical narratives, but electoral ones, echoing broader concerns in South Korea's cutthroat corporate culture, where executives sometimes blur lines between boardroom authority and ballot box interference. To substantiate this bombshell, HYBE's attorneys unearthed a 2024 anonymous post from an employee forum, a digital confessional where a supposed insider vented raw frustration. The poster claimed Min had explicitly warned against supporting the Democrats, going so far as to haul in and berate colleagues who confessed their ballots had gone blue, with scoldings stretching to grueling 3-hour marathons that left the employee questioning if they'd stumbled into a creative haven or an ideological boot camp. After the election, if anyone said they voted for the Democratic Party, she'd call them in and scold them, the post read, a line that lands like a gut punch, conjuring images of fluorescent-lit offices turning into interrogation rooms, where the thrill of brainstorming hits morphs into dread. Adding fuel to this inferno, HYBE waved a Kakao Talk screenshot from December 14, 2020, a pre-ADOR chat where Min purportedly grilled a subordinate with, "Why did you vote for the Democratic Party?" before quipping, "If there's no party worth voting for, you shouldn't vote, like me." LOL. It's a snippet that, ripped from its casual context, feels like a smoking gun. Yet, it predates ADOR's official launch in 2021, when Min stepped fully into her CEO role under HYBE's expansive umbrella, a subsidiary born from the parent company's multi-label strategy to nurture diverse talents, like LE SSERAFIM's fierce anthems or ENHYPEN's vampire lore mystique. The irony stings, doesn't it? In an industry built on illusion and reinvention, where HYBE's IPO in 2020 catapulted it to a trillion-won valuation by leveraging BTS's army-fueled global wave, this revelation feels like a crack in the facade, exposing how private frustrations over policies, like Moon Jae-in's real estate reforms that irked many urban dwellers, could be weaponized years later in a battle far removed from policy debates or protest chants. But Min Hee-jin, ever the resilient architect of icons, didn't slink into silence. On November 28, 2025, Korean Standard Time, she erupted onto her personal Instagram stories with a barrage of rebuttals that read like a manifesto from a wronged artist, each slide a defiant stroke against the canvas of doubt. "I have always been a supporter of the Democratic Party of Korea," she declared unapologetically, her words slicing through the noise like a NewJeans bass line, sharp, unyielding, and impossible to ignore. She didn't stop at proclamations. Min laid bare her voting history, proudly revealing she'd cast her ballot for former President Moon Jae-in, the progressive leader whose 2017 win promised a thaw in inter-Korean tensions and economic equity, only to grapple with scandals that tested even his staunchest allies. That 2020 Kakao Talk exchange? She dismissed it as a momentary vent, born of genuine letdown over Moon's housing policies amid skyrocketing Seoul real estate prices that squeezed young professionals, the very demographic fueling K-pop's fanbase into ever tinier apartments, a frustration so universal it borders on tragic comedy. "I had no idea my disappointment would be twisted this way," she lamented, her tone laced with incredulity that tugs at the heartstrings, evoking sympathy for a woman whose creative genius, honed at SM Entertainment, where she crafted visuals for Girls' Generation's iconic G era and EXO's cosmic concepts, now faces scrutiny over a 5-year-old LOL. It's profoundly humanizing, this glimpse into her off-duty self, reminding us that behind the polished press kits and viral challenges, industry titans harbor the same policy gripes as any commuter on the Seoul subway. Yet the fallout feels disproportionately cruel, amplifying a private quip into a public pillory that could tarnish a legacy built on empowering young voices. As the narrative twisted further, Min reframed HYBE's ploy as nothing short of sabotage, branding it an unrelated political frame slapped onto their simmering legal cauldron like a bad remix of a hit single, distracting from the real grooves of shareholder disputes and put option payouts. This hearing, part of a duo of civil suits grinding through Civil Settlement Division 31 under Judge Nam In-soo, zeroed in on HYBE's bid to validate the July 2024 termination of their shareholder pact with Min, while she countersued for roughly 26 billion won tied to her exercised put option, a financial parachute calculated from ADOR's 2023 operating profit surge of 33.5 billion won, propelled by NewJeans' chart-topping Ditto and OMG that blended retro hooks with Gen Z introspection. The timing couldn't be more poignant. Just weeks prior, on October 30th, 2025, the same court had upheld NewJeans' exclusive contracts through 2029, a ruling that quelled disbandment rumors but left the group in limbo, with members like Minji and Hani voicing support for Min amid whispers of Antarctic getaways delaying their ADOR return announcements. Min's rebuttal wasn't mere defense, it was a counteroffensive, flooding her stories with irrefutable receipts that painted her as a blue-blooded Democrat through and through. There was footage from last winter's massive rallies demanding President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment, crowds swelling Seoul's streets in a cacophony of chants and placards against his administration's martial law flirtations and gender policies that alienated progressives. Min's clip showed her right in the thick of it, her presence a quiet roar of solidarity that sends shivers of admiration racing. Who wouldn't feel a surge of respect for someone risking the corporate ladder to march for accountability? She followed with proof of aid dispatched to those same anti-Yoon protesters, parcels of supplies bridging the gap between keyboard activism and boots-on-ground resolve, a gesture that underscores her as more than a suit-wearing exec, but a citizen pulsing with the same fervor that once fueled candlelight revolution vigils toppling Park Geun-hye. The visual crescendo came with a snapshot from June 3, 2022, the presidential election day when Yoon narrowly edged out her championed candidate Lee Jae-myung. Min, clutching a blue bag, that telltale hue of Democratic Party banners fluttering like defiant flags in Gwanghwamun Square. Blue, more than a color, symbolizes the party's roots in Kim Dae-jung's sunshine policy and Roh Moo-hyun's participatory democracy, ideals Min has woven into her public persona with the fervor of a lifelong devotee. My friends all know this, but I have consistently supported President Lee Jae-myung since his days as mayor of Songnam, she affirmed, harking back to his tenure from 2010 to 2018, where bold welfare experiments like youth dividends and free uniforms earned him a cult following among artists and urbanites weary of chaebol dominance. It's a lineage of loyalty that feels almost poetic, linking Min's creative ethos, prioritizing authenticity over algorithms, to Lee's underdog rise from factory worker to presidential hopeful, now steering the Democrats as their 2027 candidate amid Yoon's approval ratings languishing below 20%. One senses a deep resonance here, a quiet thrill in witnessing a power player unmask her principles, turning what could have been a tabloid footnote into a testament of integrity that challenges the cynicism bred by years of idle scandals and agency infighting. Yet, beneath the empowerment lies a subtle ache. In an era where K-pop exports soft power to the tune of billions, Min's stand highlights how domestic politics seeps into the studios, forcing creators to navigate not just fan service, but ideological minefields, leaving a lingering unease about whether such exposures heal or merely heighten the fractures. Questioning HYBE's endgame sharpened Min's retort into a scalpel, as she probed the absurdity of dredging a pre-ADOR Cacao Talk relic, irrelevant to her CEO stewardship, since ADOR didn't exist until November 2021, when HYBE spun it off to house NewJeans' nascent project amid the post-pandemic boom that saw Super Shy dominate summer playlists. "What kind of framing is HYBE attempting with this old private chat?" she demanded, her words dripping with the exasperation of someone who's seen her private vents twisted into public venom, a fate all too common in Korea's hyper-connected media landscape, where a single leak can cascade into stock dips, as HYBE's shares did by 12% in April 2024 amid the initial feud. Context, she insisted, was king. That 2020 exchange captured a fleeting disillusionment, not doctrine. Much like how Moon's administration, for all its progressive wins on minimum wage hikes and anti-corruption drives, faltered on housing amid a bubble that priced out even mid-level creatives like those at Source Music or B-Lift Lab. Min's arsenal of evidence, screenshots, videos, timestamps, didn't just counter, it contextualized, accusing HYBE of cherry-picking to distract from thornier issues, like the non-compete clauses in her shareholder deal, or the plagiarism whispers around Illit's Magnetic, echoing NewJeans' schoolgirl vibe, a controversy that erupted in 2024 when parents of the latter group lodged formal complaints, igniting fan wars that pitted bunnies against NewJeans' global stands. It's disheartening, this escalation, stirring a cocktail of frustration and fascination. Frustration at how personal politics become corporate collateral. Fascination at Min's unfiltered fightback, which echoes the resilience of figures like IU or Blackpink's Jennie, who've navigated agency tugs of war with grace, yet here, amplified into a spectacle that blurs art and activism in ways that both inspire and exhaust. This political coercion thread, now inextricably laced into the HYBE-Min tapestry, amplifies a broader legal odyssey that's dragged on since April 2024, when an internal audit unearthed alleged takeover plots, prompting Min's tearful press conference decrying HYBE's betrayal after Bang Si-hyuk personally wooed her from SM with promises of creative carte blanche. What started as whispers of disloyalty, Min reportedly consulting shamans for stock tips, A scandal that briefly overshadowed NewJeans' How Sweet rollout, snowballed into injunctions, defamation suits from Source Music claiming 500 million won in damages, and a March 2025 fine from the Seoul Labor Office for workplace harassment, later appealed as overreach. Min's side counters that HYBE's multi-label empire, spanning 17's sold-out stadiums to TXT's anime-inspired worlds, stifled ADOR's autonomy, diverting promo budgets and CF deals to siblings like Pledis, while labeling her team difficult. Through it all, NewJeans remained the emotional core. Their October 2025 court-mandated return to ADOR, a bittersweet pivot after a hiatus marred by Hani's bullying testimony at a National Assembly hearing, where she detailed senior idol's cold shoulders, a moment that humanized the glamour and fueled #StandWithNewJeans trends worldwide. Min's Instagram salvo, blending text and visuals, positions her not as adversary but ally to democratic ideals, a stark pivot from HYBE's portrayal of a meddlesome mogul. It's a masterclass in narrative reclamation, evoking a wry smile at her tenacity. After all, in K-pop's Darwinian dance floor, surviving means spinning your story louder than the bass drop. And Min's doing just that. Her blue bag photo a badge of honor that lingers like a favorite chorus, urging us to question not just votes cast, but the voices silenced in their wake. As the December 18th, 2025 hearing looms like a cliffhanger in a binge-worthy drama, this chapter in the HYBE ADOR epic underscores a poignant truth. Beneath the sequins and syncopated beats, power dynamics in entertainment mirror society's fault lines, where a CEO's chat log can conjure specters of coercion, and a rally clip becomes a shield of authenticity. Min's multifaceted pushback, written fire, and visual proof recasts her as the unyielding supporter she claims. Her long arc of democratic devotion from Moon's candlelit inauguration to Lee's Songnam innovations, a through line that defies the caricature HYBE sketches. One feels a mix of awe and sorrow in this unraveling. Awe at her archival depth, pulling threads from 2010 mayoral races to 2022 election eve. Sorrow that such scrutiny diverts from her triumphs, like conceptualizing NewJeans' Blurred Lines video that amassed 500 million views, or ADOR's pivot to sustainable merch amid eco-conscious fan shifts. HYBE, for its part, guards its fortress with evidence that, while damning on surface, crumbles under timeline scrutiny, hinting at a desperation born of the 2020 IPO pressures Min herself alleges she was sacrificed to. Her zero-equity start a Faustian bargain for trainees that blossomed into billions. In this vortex, where cacao talks from yesteryear clash with impeachment footage from last chill, the real intrigue lies in the human element. The employees caught in crossfire, their anonymous posts a cry from the cubicles that resonates with anyone who's feared reprisal for a differing view. It's a narrative that hooks you, doesn't it? A reminder that even in K-pop's glittering orbit, where ARMY's philanthropy rivals nation-states and NewJeans' school uniforms spark fashion revolutions, the shadows harbor stories of coercion and conviction, urging us to listen closer to the lyrics between the lines. And as Min signs off her stories with unwavering poise, one can't shake the electric anticipation. In this duel of titans, will truth tune out the noise? Or will the frame hold firm, leaving the audience, us, breathless for the encore?